Good afternoon. My name is Sarah and I am doing my research paper presentation, and my topic is technology in the elementary science classrooms. I want to start out by asking a question. Well, actually, let's look at it from the standpoint of a student asking a question. Let's say I'm in front of my elementary science classroom and a student looks at me and says, "Mrs. Johnson, what does an atom look like?" Well, there are a number of ways I could answer that question. I could answer it verbally and just try to describe, the shape of it and what it does. That might work. Or I could find a picture of a diagram, rather, of an atom and try to explain to it in that way from their textbook or from some other means, a worksheet or something like that, and that might work too. But what if I were able to run over to my classroom computer and pull up an interactive application like we see right here, and not only could I show that student in the whole class what an atom looks like, I can even put atoms together and show how they are formed to make elements of the periodic table, which I know is far above a stretch for elementary, but I could introduce the idea and I could show how there are protons, neutrons, electrons, and then just move right on with the rest of my lesson. And that would be a very visual way for students to say, oh, that makes it a lot clearer to me than just it being described by words. That is one example, a very small example of how technology can truly be used in the educational classroom of elementary. Now, let me bring this back up. Because I want to ensure that you are able to see my computer screen, to see the presentations, I'm going to try to slide my screen here to be just as close to that screen as we can get it. And I will be right here as much as I can be. So, technology in the elementary science classroom. Up until very recent times, technology has mainly been used to support students' observation and data interpretation skills during the investigation phase of inquiry. That's really all it was mostly used for, was just as a means to help students find information based on what they already know. But we have been told that now technology has the potential to support other science process skills in other phases of inquiry in a variety of ways, supporting students to capture and collect data, providing learning materials, and linking the real world context. So that means now it can be used not only to help students just see and comprehend information they're seeing on the screen, but thanks to things such as touchscreens, now students have the ability to truly learn as they are using the technology. That way they can try the things on the screen with interactive applications so they can see what works and what doesn't work too. And so it's no longer just something that they just see. Now learning is actually something they truly do in a visual way instead of just learning from the textbook. The current era of education is one filled with many means of exploration, thanks to the tremendous leaps and bounds made in the realm of technology. Really, it seems like almost on a daily basis, we're hearing about wild and almost mind-blowing things that technology can do. We're not relegated to the use of just a pencil, paper, and textbooks in the classroom. And every now and then have the use of an old-timey overhead projector. Remember those with the transparent slides that we would use? That's the way things used to be done. But now there are means of bringing concepts to life in real-world ways that people a couple of generations back, even one generation back, they had no idea of what was going to be available to us in terms of technology. But here we are. But that begs the question, is that a good thing? To have such a vast array of ways to use technology in elementary science classrooms? That's not a question that can really be easily answered. I wanted to go through and discuss some of the specific forms of technology being used in the elementary science classrooms. So let's zip through that very quickly. One thing I wanted to mention, let me get my screen working along here. Virtual field trips. We'll also mention smart boards, videos, simulated experiments, virtual and augmented reality, and ChatGPT. Yes, you heard that correctly. ChatGPT is being used in the educational world. So, first let's talk about virtual field trips very quickly. Let's zip through these. This form of technology has been around longer than some other forms, with good reason too, because a study that has been done has shown us my apologies, let me back up. A study that was done by an author when he talked to a group of 19 teachers, he determined that learning by immersive virtual field trips may provide the benefits of enriching experiences, increasing motivation, understanding abstract concepts, and fostering inquiry learning. So virtual field trips is a great way for schools that are strapped for cash, meaning they're very limited in their financial resources. They can still bring in the beauty and the efficiency and the excitement of learning via virtual field trips if they're not able to afford a whole lot of in-person field trips. So they still help to accomplish the goal without using quite as much money. While virtual field trips may not be quite as immersive as an in-person field trip, they do give students the benefit of gaining information about places, animals, cultures, etc., that are learned in a far more exciting way than just words on a page with illustrations. In other words, it's still better than just a textbook. Secondly, we have smart boards. Smart boards are very interactive, and it's very nice because they can be used not just in science, but in a whole lot of different school disciplines. We have mentioned there a quote about smart boards. A smart board, what is it? Well, a smart board is an interactive whiteboard that allows users to interact with digital content. What makes it different from a regular whiteboard is that smart boards are touch-sensitive devices that allow users to write on them with the touch of a finger or a special stylus, and you can also move text and graphic elements around on the board. Now that is very, very helpful in a classroom. So that means it basically makes your whiteboard one great big huge touchscreen. And not only that, but you can write on it. That's pretty amazing too. So moving right along, we have videos can be used in the classroom, and they're used in a similar way to virtual field trips in that they are done using a lot of free websites, things like YouTube, things of that nature. Those are where videos would come in very handy. YouTube at its most basic level is almost all free. Just about anything you would look at for your basic kind of thing for science would be free. So that's something for teachers to keep in mind. That's not the only website by any means, but that would be the one that people will probably go to most readily. And we have some authors made the claim that videos are used in classrooms to show students science experiments that they cannot perform in the school due to lack of resources, science laboratory equipment, and other reasons. In other words, videos come in handy, again, when you have cash issues for your school. Then you can pull up videos as long as you've got a few little prerequisites we'll mention in a minute. And then you will be all set to at least have some way of bringing in technology into the classroom as you teach. We also have the next one to mention here, simulation experiments. That is an affordable alternative to physical lab equipment, and it ensures student safety as they test theories and manipulate equipment. It would be used by, again, those interactive apps like I used at the beginning to describe how to find out what an atom is and how to create elements for the periodic table. And all of those would be ways that they can safely see, this works, this doesn't work. When I put this and this chemical together, it blows up. Or if I put this chemical and this chemical together, it creates this compound. Things like that where they can learn without you having to worry about there being any danger, and it satisfies the curiosity and it teaches things. Virtual reality and augmented reality. I put these two together because they're actually pretty similar. To be honest, I thought they were pretty much the same thing until I started studying a little bit. Virtual reality is different in that it usually requires a lot of hardware that costs a lot of money. You know how you see those people wearing the virtual reality glasses for like the games and for learning things as well. That's cost a lot of money, and most schools cannot afford a whole lot of that. So they would turn more to augmented reality. Unlike virtual reality, augmented reality does not require expensive hardware. This technology has the potential to be used with printed materials, such as illustrations in a textbook that come to life on the user's phone. It would be one of those examples. It reminds me of a few years ago, that game was popular where you could hold up your phone and it would show you like a character, a cartoon character or something in your real life picture. It would make it pop up. And it made it look real, but it wasn't real, but it looked like it. That would be an example of augmented reality. Also mentioned was ChatGPT. It is rapidly gaining traction as being a means to construct and enhance lessons. A little bit of a controversial topic in today's educational circles. Some people feel like it's a great idea, and others say, let's be careful with it because we could cause people to become too dependent on it. It could start pretty much writing the lessons, so to speak, for the teacher. So now let's turn to how today's science standards are impacted by technology. Well, most public schools and some private first use STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. That used to be the main byword when it came to the world of science. Now they are moving on to next generation science standards. All that is, it's just taking the ideas of STEM a bit deeper in the water of education, and it gives very specific areas of science that are to be taught instead of being generic. They're three-pronged, if you will, learning. Goals are the practices, cross-cutting concepts, and disciplinary core ideas. Just helps teachers plan their lessons. But now, how do traditional Christian educators use technology in their classrooms? Some are using it for some of the things that we've mentioned today, but a lot of them are smaller Christian schools. They're not able to really afford all of those means of technology. So does that mean that they should just say, oh, well, I can't afford it for my school, so I'm not even going to try? No, we shouldn't do that at all, right? We need to try to at least implement what we can. If you've got in your classroom a computer that has internet connection and a projector of some kind, you've got options. You can do virtual field trips, videos from YouTube, free interactive apps, some that we've already mentioned today. The main thing is that all teachers need to strive to have some element of technology now and then. Do you need to do it every lesson? No. Do you need to not have technology at all? No. You got to find that balance. Let me get my little seesaw up here. You can have too much of a good thing, but you can also not have enough of a good thing. So you have to find your balance. The main thing is that we need to approach everything scripturally. Yes, even technology. We should desire to give students our best. That means educators, maybe we need to get a magazine to keep abreast of what's the latest and the greatest, most popularly used technologies in the classroom. Maybe we should even consider taking a class from time to time to get us up to speed on what technology should be used in our classroom. Because the reason why it's important for us to do that for our students is because the Bible tells us in Colossians 3:23 and 24, whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men, for ye serve the Lord Christ. A teacher is responsible for the education of impressionable young minds that are learning academically and in all other areas by watching and listening to their teachers' words and lifestyle. Teachers should give students their very best in every way because we're doing it for God. For sake of time, I'm going to skip the pros and the cons of technology in the classroom, and I'm going to move on to our last slide here. Technology should be a tool, not a teacher. Technology should be a tool in the toolbox, but it shouldn't be the teacher itself. Teachers shouldn't just sit back and just say, well, I can chill now because I've got a video on for them to watch, or I've got them working on some application. No, we've got to stay involved with all of it, and we've got to make it match up with our course objectives, and we've got to make sure that we're using technology in the correct way so that we can best show our students not only just how amazing science is, but how amazing our God is by showcasing His creation. Thank you.